who needs to vote anyways? All right, we're going bear for this one. I need some more, mobility. All right, I need some more mobility because we are doing a video review on Femboys. It's Femboy time. It's Femboy time. Is everybody excited? Is everybody excited to talk about femboys? I know femboys have been a hot topic of debate recently, and I decided there'd be no better way to hop in to this discussion than with talking about a femboy video by this weird little reactionary who says the left wants to turn men into femboys. Remember, like, my joke is like the one joke I have that's like these conservatives unironically think that the left wants to round up guys and put them through like forced feminization camps. This guy actually believes it. Yeah, the one joke. This guy actually he unironically believes that. So I guess let's just hear him talk about what he has to talk about,
The left wants to turn all men into femboys. Oh,
told you. I told you. You thought I lied. All right, we're 3 seconds in. I've already listen. All right, I can't make this stuff up. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, they do. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, and today on the internet, we've got to talk about femboys. Okay, it is that time of year, right? So many of you probably heard the story of a 16-
I have not heard this story before.
-year-old boy who was given estrogen for a behavioral disorder while at the LA County Juvenile Hall.
Now this is bad. So the story goes, he's gonna explain it, but I guess I'll explain it a little bit. 16-year-old boy in juvie, doctor prescribes estrogen. He grows boobies, as one does when they get estrogen. So yeah,
there's been a lawsuit, and the boy developed breasts. He had to get surgery.
Yeah, 20-second long video. That'd be great.
To remove the breasts, and now he's mentally scarred and traumatized. His father says that he won't leave his room and that he's scared of the world. They gave a young boy, pumped him full of female hormones, destroyed his body, destroyed his mind, and completely and utterly wrecked him. And nobody knows why.
Nobody knows why. Okay. Okay. I feel like there would be a reason why they did. I mean, I don't think doctors just prescribe things for literally no reason, but okay.
But I think I do. Now, like all real men, I love femboy hooters. Ooh, especially that one right there. Now, some people would call these traps, but as a straight man, when I see a trap, I turn 360 degrees and walk away. There's nothing gay about that. But for real, folks, whether you prefer femboy hooters or tomboy outback or even iGoth IHOP, what's really important here is that everyone has a choice. You can choose to go to femboy hooters or you can go to tomboy outback. And the femboys can choose to be a femboy or just be a regular man. Everyone consents. And that's what it's all about. But
sure. Okay, so he's gonna say like, "Oh, I'm fine with Le Femboy, but you have to choose to be one. But the left want to force your boys into being prissy little cum buckets or something. I don't know. We'll see."
But what they did to the 16-year-old boy was not consent. They forced him to take these treatments. They threatened him. They said, "If you don't do what we say, we're going to send you to prison." Here you can see on the Los Angeles Times, a 16-year-old boy being held at Los Angeles County Juvenile Hall developed enlarged breasts after he was prescribed estrogen to treat a behavioral disorder, a move that baffled doctors, who said the treatment defied all medical logic, according to a lawsuit filed last month. So he was diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder, ODD, and arrested. So the Times revealed that his testosterone levels were slightly high when the doctor diagnosed him, prescribed doses of estrogen, in order to treat his slightly high testosterone. Now,
Wait, okay, so he said we have no clue why he was prescribed estrogen. And then he goes on to explain exactly why he was prescribed estrogen. Now, this is justified the prescription. I'm quite sure you don't treat slightly high levels of testosterone for a teenager who's being like defiant. I'm pretty sure you just don't do that. And that's why it baffled it baffled other doctors. Like doctors who are both left and right, I'm sure, chimed in and said, "Hey, this is not how you do this." But this has nothing to do with the left. I have no clue what this has to do with the left. This is just a doctor who's like, ah, yes, the teenage boy has big estrogen. My bad, big big T. He's got the big T in him. It's time to give him the massive E. Give him the E. Feed him the E pills. Put it in his mashed potatoes. All right, that's not how that works. And this doctor probably should be sued. Like, I mean, should 100% should be sued. But I don't know why you said this. We had no clue why. This has nothing to do with the left. This is just a really dumb doctor who prescribed estrogen to a kid with high testosterone because he was being annoying.
Nobody knows why they did this. Some people have postulated that it was a mad science experiment, but I believe I know. Other commentators, like Tim Pool, have said things like, I think it was some forced experiment to see what would happen if you did a gender reassignment on an unwilling participant.
Gender reassignment? What? Wait, so he thinks that I don't know. This is like, see, this is why I'm like, these like conservatives. I don't care if this guy's literally conservative. These reactionaries are like insane, dude. They're like Nazi adjacent. This is why I call them Nazi adjacent, because they believe in these like crazy conspiracies. This man literally, unironically, is going to go on here and say that he believes that there's some underground cabal of left-wing doctors or whatever who are going around doing crazy science experiments to see what would happen if you make a person go through gender reassignment when they don't want it. What are you talking about? What do you think would happen? This is like asking what would happen if we have to do a science experiment. What would happen if we amputate someone's leg who doesn't want it amputated? What do you think happens? The leg comes off at the end of the procedure. When they wake up, the leg's gone. Like, what do you mean? Like, you give them estrogen, they grow boobies. This is just like how the world works. Like, we have to do a science experiment to see what happens when we drop a puppy off a third-story building when they doesn't want it. I'm pretty sure the mental state of the puppy doesn't really matter whether it's going to pop when it hits the floor. All right, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe he has something better to say. Let's see.
I think he misses the plot completely. They didn't do this to do an experiment about gender reassignment. They did this to destroy a man and toxic masculinity. You see, we have to talk about feminism.
Oh, he took this in a whole new direction. Wow. Okay, so we go from it being like a crazy science experiment to actually it's still the same logic. It's still like conspiracy logic. It's still a planned shadow cabal out there trying to destroy men or something.
And far left ideology. You see, these extreme ideologies believe in the concept known as toxic masculinity. And if I had to guess, they were trying to cure him of this toxic masculinity by pumping him full of female hormones, which, mind you, can leave a man infertile, destroy his body, and destroy everything he is. Here you can see on tolerance.org.
Dog. All right. So this man has absolutely no clue what toxic masculinity is. Okay. So let me explain this for the class. All right. Since apparently this man doesn't understand, there may be some people watching this who don't get it either. For one, women can show toxic masculinity too. Listen, when a girl is like, when you ever hear like some woman like, oh yeah, a man should be big and strong, and also he should pay for everything for his woman, and he should like never hit a woman, and even if she's like stabbing him to death, he should not put up a fight because the woman is weak and frail, and like a woman like that, and like she should pay for like everything, and he should be strong and emotionally unavailable or whatever. That's toxic masculinity exhibited by a female. Now, she's not masculine. Well, she may not be, but she's not a man and does not conform to masculinity, but she is perpetuating it. All right. Toxic masculinity is literally just the bad portions of masculinity. Toxic masculinity doesn't mean oh, masculinity is toxic. It means there are some elements to masculinity that is toxic. It's as simple as that. It's really that simple, and it's a problem, and it hurts men. Emotional unavailability, making it weird when you talk to other men. You know, men don't form strong friend groups, at least not as strong as women do. And this leads a lot to, mental health. Men have a lot of mental health problems. You think there's a reason? You think this this toxic masculinity, the whole, oh, keep your emotions in, oh, never express yourself, oh, this sort of like masculinity thing has anything to do with like men's suicide rate? Do you think it has anything to do with men's suicide rate? Maybe. You think so? You want to put some thought behind that? Maybe this guy can rub together his last 2 brain cells to maybe make that, like, put that together. I don't know. Maybe it's just an ask, but that's what toxic masculinity is. It doesn't mean all masculinity is toxic. It doesn't mean men are genetically terrible or something. Because apparently this guy believes if we just pump them full of estrogen, they'll change or something. But it is pretty hard. The static electricity is not as good. I don't know, but this isn't how this works.
Well, that's hilarious since they aren't very tolerant. What do we mean when we say toxic masculinity? Now, this is a person who made headlines when they talked about toxic masculinity. Lots of people criticized them, made fun of them, and laughed at them. So they made this article, and they said, well, let me explain what I think toxic masculinity is. Before we engage students in conversations about masculinity or femininity, toxic or otherwise, we should begin with a few ideas about...
Okay, so in this article, even the sentence he just read just separated masculinity and femininity and said they both have elements that are neutral and elements that are toxic. This person even identified that there's a thing such as toxic femininity, but he's just going to glaze over that. His eyes just glaze over that, all right? And he's just going to read on to read what makes him outraged, what makes him angry, what he feels what he feels offended by.
Gender. Researchers have shown that there's very little difference between the brains of men and women. Wrong. Research has actually shown that there's an incredible difference between the male and...
Incredible difference. There's not an incredible difference between men and women. A new way of showing the connectivity of the brain called connectome mass revealed significant differences between men and women. It's just the significant differences between the way the brain's connected. There's no like scientific basis to show there's like some sort of like blue and pink brain. It's just our brains work a little bit differently through conditioning and also through hormones. All right. Nature and nurture. Don't wear a mask. I mean, thanks for following, bud. I appreciate it. Both these things play a large role into how our brain works. And this could also be changed. This person is going to act like men are like just fundamentally different than women, which just isn't true.
Female brain. The connectome, a way of mapping connectivity in the brain, revealing significant differences between men and women. Now let's just take a look here. The brain on the left is a male brain. The brain on the right is a female brain. Let's read. Typical male brain. Most connections run between the front and the back, parts of the same brain hemisphere, which could account for the better spatial skills and motor muscle control.
He said spatial skills and motor muscle control in men. Wait, so you're actually being quite able... I'm sorry, my bad. Listen, okay. So he's like, there's significant differences between men and women. And then he goes on to say, men can work around blindfolded in a room better. And then he's going to say women can talk a little bit better and have different intuition. This is the massive difference between the humans. This is what makes us almost basically different species. Ah, yes, the men and women brain finally show us the true differences. Okay, men are better at packing. Like suitcases into the back of a truck. But women are better at talking. Yeah, it clearly shows. Yeah.
In men. Now the female brain. Many more neural connections go from side to side, across the left and right hemispheres of the brain. Scientists say this could account for women's better verbal skills and intuitive abilities. Aha! So here you can see real science showing you that there's a difference between male and female brains. The way they connect, the way they communicate, and what they're good at are completely different. It is often
It's not completely different. These are very marginal differences between these two brains. Very marginal differences. It's not that crazy, okay? It's just that when we test these things, men typically, not even always, typically come up slightly higher than women. And then when we're on verbal skills and when we're on interpersonal skills, women usually rank higher than men. That's it. That's literally it. And then he's going to try to extrapolate this to being like men and women are fundamentally different and they're on different sides of the universe and they could never touch each other. And this may be like tie into like some transphobic thing. We'll see.
In a stereotype that men are better at motor control reading maps, spatial reasoning, and women are better at verbal skills and intuition. Now, these left-wing activists will tell you that there's no such thing. Stereotypes are all false. Men and women are exactly the same. But as you can see, they are clearly not. These images show you that there are very real physical, biological, and genetic differences between men and women. Not only that, they've done studies on homosexual brains, and you know what they found? Men who are homosexual have brains that look more like a female brain, and vice versa. Women who are lesbians have brains that look more like male brains. So there's something very real and something very tangible about gender differences between men and women, and even sexuality. So this is where the left-wing ideology goes absolutely.
But yeah, this guy has not put together that that's because of conditioning, and that's not because of society, or that's because of biology. Because society can have biological effects on people. It can. I mean, abuse, poor people tend to abuse drugs more, and then that can have a physiological, biological change to your brain chemistry and your body. All right? Society has a massive role in how our brain works, because it has to, because that's how we evolved as human beings. So he has not put together that gay people usually tend to act a little bit more feminine because of society, or because their brain or whatever.
Absolutely insane. Here you can see, while gender identity is a deeply held feeling of being male or female or another gender. What other gender? Did I miss the memo or something? Hideyoshi is the only other gender I know. People of different genders.
Gender is a bimodal distribution, not a binary.
Often act differently, not because of biological characteristics, but because of rigid societal norms created around femininity and masculinity. And there it is. The insane left-wing ideology that is behind all of this.
Wait, can you read that again,
biological. Hideyoshi is the only other gender. But because of rigid society. People of different genders often act differently, not because of biological characteristics, but because of rigid societal norms created around femininity and masculinity.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm sorry, everyone watching. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to break it to you, okay? I know this is going to be a big hit. It's going to be up there when you learn that the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus aren't real, okay? If you haven't already, I'm sorry for the spoiler if you haven't figured that one out yet. There is no like suit gene, okay? In men, there's no like gene that like tells men to wear suits. It's not sitting there nestled between the hairy chest gene and the big cock gene, okay? And there's no gene in women that says there's no makeup gene for women, okay? There's no like lip gloss and nail polish gene that sits between the drippy vagoober and the big floppy boobage genes, okay? That doesn't happen. These societal norms come from society, and that's it. That's literally it, okay? I'm sorry to burst your bubble. It doesn't work. Oh yeah, also like the honking, the clown world, it makes me very curious on what other videos that we can find in this guy's dumpster pile that is a YouTube channel. But I guess we'll have to see. No, yeah, this is like, these traits are not fundamentally baked into us. All that man showed in like the different braids is that like men are better at putting together like a sandcastle, and women are better at talking down like talking to friends. That's it. That's all he showed. That's all he showed in those like brain maps, and that's literally all that science has found, basically. But I don't know, I guess. And then he's going to try to bring this out and say that like everything that we see in society is due to like brain chemistry. Is the essentialism here. And I know this guy 110% holds some horrible views outside of transgenderism. We know this for a fact.
And there it is. The insane left-wing ideology that is behind all of this, behind the feminization of the Western male. And believe me, folks, it is happening. The idea that there's no differences between men and women is wrong. It's not true. We know for a fact that testosterone and estrogen have very different effects on the body. Otherwise, men would not grow breasts and become different.
They're talking about societal norms. He's just switching around societal norms and like boobies. Because apparently men wearing jeans and women wearing skirts is as fundamentally baked into us as men usually having penises and women usually having vaginas. Wow, incredible. Thank you for a 10,000 IQ take.
When given female hormones. Likewise, women would not become more aggressive when given testosterone. So for these feminists, and believe me, they are out there. They're out of school, out of their gender studies classes. You know, I've said for years that affirmative action and letting people who didn't deserve to go to university is going to lead to a generation of crackpots. You've got all these extremists in universities being brainwashed by the regressive left.
What are you talking about? This left-wing ideology has been part of academia far before affirmative action was even like a twinkle in the eye of anyone who like wanted to push it through. I don't know what you're talking about. Like leftism, Marxism, socialism, all these sorts of things were like highbrow, like philosopher, like this stuff literally comes down from philosophers. You think like this had anything to do with affirmative action? What are you talking about? Thoughts on Shahid? What, Shahid Buttar? Or like, who is this? Oh no.
In 2020.
Yeah, Shahid Buttar. What about him? He's a guy. He seems left wing. He seemed like a chill dude. What about him? He seems good.
For all, but he also wants to cut military spending.
With the congressional candidate trying
to that was Mike Figueredo.
Way too long rule of corporate queen Nancy Pelosi.
I'm not a big fan of Medicare for all.
And she's not representing us. She's not. She's representing her interests.
She needs to retire. Really, she does.
If Hillary Clinton had won, I was ready to go home.
She's out of touch with what's really happening.
Shahid is...
Yeah, Shahid Buttar. Cool guy. Great guy. Get Pelosi out. That's cool. That'd be really sick if we got, if we were able to get the whole, like, little, Pelosi's whole group, and at the very end, knock out Pelosi herself. That'd be nice. A little nice, like kickoff to the whole like leftist movement here in the country. That'd be amazing.
2020.
Oh, open that too. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, Shahid Buttar, cool guy. Now don't see a lot of like left, like Pelosi types really backing Buttar, because it's like very politically not very advantageous for you to go against like the third, arguably the second most powerful person in the country, Pelosi. You know, it's not very, she controls the menu if you get into office. And then if it fails, then now you're going to be on her bad side for the next like 2 billion years or forever how long she's going to be living and operational in the house, you know? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, so, but he's cool. Go donate to him. Yeah, that's true. Pelosi exists and and she holds power. That means sexism isn't real. Sexism rate drops to 0. Thank you. Sexual assaults of women disappears. Wow, incredible. We did it, guys. Thank you. We did it. Who knew? But once, see, this is why the left is very scared to get this is why the congressional Democrats are really scared to get Pelosi out, because once Pelosi is out of office, that means sexism goes back up. Pelosi is like Moses, you know, with her arms up. You remember that story in the Bible? If Moses was holding his arms up, the army was winning, but when he puts his arms down, the army was losing again. That's Pelosi. She's just standing there with her arms up and holding back the tide of sexism. But once she leaves, when she's out of office, the floodgates open, the levees break, and sexism runs rampant through the streets. How sad. How sad. Didn't read the Bible? Don't worry, I'll buy you one. Because reading for betas, it's true. It's very true. Thank you. Extremely true. All right, let's get back to this.
To believe things like there's no differences between men and women, or that masculinity is toxic, or
do you really think that when this person wrote, what is it? Researchers have shown that there's very little differences between the brains of men and women, which he showed. While gender identity is deeply held feeling of being male or female or another gender, people of different genders act differently, not because of biological characteristics, but because of rigid societal norms created around femininity and masculinity. What's he taking offense to here? What's he offended by here? Like this person is just spitting straight facts. What's the problem? I don't understand. Listen, just because men can put more balls in holes faster than women can doesn't mean that there's like some massive difference. Doesn't mean that all of these differences that we see in society are due to like biological traits. I'm sorry. It doesn't work like that. This is why people like this aren't in academia. I'm sorry.
or that men are evil and must be cured. All of these crackpots who studied gender studies, many others who became doctors, they're out there now, and they're experimenting on you.
Wait, if they think that there's no fundamental difference between men and women, and they think that men are acting worse, then all that they'd be arguing for would be societal change. It's amazing. It's amazing how this guy's complete argument, his slam dunk argument, makes literally no sense. His worldview is the one that would necessitate a biological, fundamental, and almost genetic change of men to be better in like the left mob's eyes, but not theirs. He's spinning this weave with a massive hole in it, and he doesn't even notice it. He's built a ship with no hull. It's incredible, and he still thinks he's making a point. Wow.
Your sons on our boys, and they're forcing them to become women. Now the feminization of the Western man is
forcing them to become women. No one's forcing men to become women. Now, I will say that there are some institutions and there are some practices in society that cater more towards women, which actually help women, succeed more in school, because men's traits usually are associated with being bad, being unlearned, being undesirable. Like masculine traits sometimes are seen as being undesirable. Boys, younger boys usually love to play rough and tumble. Me and my friends did freaking WWE moves on each other. I know my sister and her friends didn't do that. Well, as far as I know. And like that's disincentivized at school. I remember I read an article about how the school completely banned like physical contact, and then the boys started doing worse in school. So what they did is they brought it back, but there's like a playtime and they did it more safely so kids didn't get hurt as much, which I mean, that could work. That's a way that it could work. That's moving in a better direction. But that's not saying that anyone's forcing men to become women. It is a far cry from anything that these people are trying to do.
Has been going on for a long time. Here you can see on Psychology Today, feminizing boys as we masculine girls. And this guy talks about something he's noticed, that something is wrong. But here's the funny part. For years, the left and feminists have been pushing the idea that if only men would act more like girls, they would be more successful, have better behavior, and be better.
This guy's pretending like he's reading from the article. He's not. He's not reading from the article. He's just scrolling through the article. He's not reading the article. Don't you lie to people. He's pretending like he's reading the article while he's just like haranguing. This guy's crazy.
Be less toxic. That's a sexist idea. And I just want to make that clear. The idea of toxic masculinity is sexist. But here's a problem.
The person said there was toxic femininity too. Okay.
Making men and women less masculine is actually a bad thing. Here you can see. The problem for boys and men whose masculinity is being subject to attack is that many of the studies have shown that both men and women who scored higher on masculinity than femininity scale were more likely to have higher self-esteem. The original thinking by Bem and others was that the most highly successful people would be androgynous, defined as scoring above the median on both masculinity and femininity. So it was surprising to many that this was often not the case, but rather, scoring higher on masculinity was frequently the best predictor of success.
Well, you have to ask, what does scoring higher on masculinity mean? I'd love to know how this person defined scoring high on masculinity, how this study defined masculinity, what masculine traits are. If they had like a situation and it was like, you think that you're not getting a good a deal with your wage from your boss, right? So what do? Do you talk to your boss? Do you say nothing, or do you pretend it never happened at all? And then if you choose like talk to your boss about it, then that's shown as being a masculine trait. And then you can easily see how this has been like set up from the beginning to not make any sense whatsoever. Like, obviously, if you're going to call all the masculine traits being ones that show you having higher self-esteem or being, more forceful and like me being more forceful in like social situations, then yeah, you're going to see people with more masculine traits as defined by your study scoring higher. But I'd like to see what the study is even like, how the study even defines masculinity and femininity. And then they'll probably see this study. Honestly, I'm thinking about this study seems kind of sexist. Then they'll call like men who are better at interpersonal skills more feminine. If those differences he mentioned are not minor, then the actual societal impact by a lot, then shouldn't women be like deeply into business and shit? Yeah, they should, but it's almost like his idea doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's almost like he has no clue what he's talking about.
In other words, the more masculine you are, generally speaking, the more successful you are. Because guess what? Like everything else in life, testosterone has its pros and cons. Testosterone makes you aggressive, confident, strong, willing, driven. You go out there, you succeed, you win, you fight, you protect, you serve.
Holy crap! I feel like I'm watching like a Stefan Molyneux video. They hunt, they eat. What you know that Alex Jones quote? You know, he's like, I like to eat, I like to have kids, I have sex, a lot of sex. Like, you get aggressive, like you have big muscles, big pee. This guy's dude. Testosterone just kind of makes you more. I mean, there's like some things it can make you a little bit more confident, but it kind of makes you more arrogant than confident. You get like a really big head. And I know like some people, I mean, in some ways, if you're able to play it off well, that can be shown as confidence, can help you out. But it's not like that's like built into how we work in society. How it expresses itself in society is due to societal norms, not the testosterone. Yeah, that's true. My T is too low. I have to take a bull shark testosterone shot. Under the desk at my cubicle, shoot it right into my freaking thigh right before I go to ask my boss for a raise, and I come and flop down my massive throbbing cock on his desk and say, I will have a raise, and he goes, yes sir. Femboys can't win CSGO. Listen, I have two forms, all right, femboy and racist, and both of them are equally good at winning CSGO.
You're a man, you live, you're self-reliant, and you be a leader. So yeah, there's negatives to more aggression, but there can
be a leader. What does that even mean? What does that even mean, dude? This is why I said this person has no clue what he's talking about. You be a leader. You live. You're strong. You're big. You fuck a lot of women. You're a leader. Okay. Once again, these are traits associated through society about men and masculinity. Has nothing to do with any biological trait, okay?
But there can be negatives to anything. Estrogen has its negatives, sure. You're more caring. You're more understanding. You're more able to deal with stress in life. You're also more emotional. You're less rational.
Well, actually, this guy, I know for a fact that guy didn't read that whole pamphlet on the differences between men and women. But women are questionably more emotional. It's not that women feel more emotions than men. It's not like they found like the fifth plane of emotion that men are just incapable of reaching. It's just that women usually feel stronger emotions than men. And this could be, positive and negative, This means like, women usually have higher highs and lower lows than men. And that's all that means. It's not like some massive biological trait that makes us almost like two different species. This guy's incredible, like insane.
These things happen. These hormones have powerful effects on the body. Just like testosterone makes men aggressive, estrogen makes women emotional. Now, the real sexism here isn't from men, and it's not from toxic masculinity. The real sexism is from the left. Let me explain. Saying that testosterone is bad because it makes people aggressive.
No one said testosterone's bad. No one says testosterone's bad. Men can be men and have high levels of testosterone and not be pieces of shit. Okay, this is perfectly fine. This can happen. This could really happen. I don't know who the fuck the left is. I don't know who you think this doctor was, as like some Marxist theorist in his moonlight hours, sitting in his writing table at home with a quill and ink, writing about like the proletariat struggle or something, and how we have to turn all men into femboys or something. Like, if you really believe this, you'd think that the doctor himself would be like in his office, like snorting e-pills off of the paper they lay down on the like table when you walk into the pediatrician or whatever. You think he'd be doing that. It's almost like it doesn't happen. It's almost like no one's saying testosterone is in and of itself bad. And why people keep talking about masculinity and the societal impact on men and women that it has, and our NB friends, let's not forget them. And not like these biological traits that they even downplay by themselves. They're downplaying biological traits and then saying it's a societal problem, and then he's saying that they think it's a biological problem.
Is sexist. Saying that estrogen is bad because it makes women emotional is also sexist. Neither are bad. Both are important, and men need testosterone like women need estrogen. It's what makes them them. If it wasn't for that, there wouldn't be men, there wouldn't be women, and there wouldn't be humanity. You see, feminism rejects the family unit. They reject the
What is this again? What does he got? What is he talking about? The family unit. What do you mean family unit? We started off by like everybody like kind of like had sex with each other, and then everyone raised all the kids in the group like they're theirs. That's how it started. We like slept on top of each other like dogs. All right. And now we're in these like atomized homes in the suburbs where everyone looks the same but like slightly different, and we have our cars and we're separate from each other. And now we're living only with our nuclear family. This is not like like the way families usually are brought together, but it is now through the society. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what about this has anything to do with the family unit. Does this guy think that like two gay people can't have a family unit? I'm so surprised.
The idea that you need a man.
My bad, I'm not surprised, but I am shook and chagrined.
And a woman to reproduce to make a child. As much as I love those traps, they don't have a womb, and that is huge. So men need women, women need men.
Listen, if you wanna reproduce, and you've got and you're shooting ropes, and you need a nice warm cozy womb to plant your seed into, that's fine. If you have a dripping wet quivering vagoober, and you need a big strong freaking cock to freaking puncture your small intestine, and that's what you need, all right, then don't let anybody stop you, okay? But two people who can't do that are perfectly fine at forming a family. Actually, the kids of gay people usually do better, and where they don't do better is usually due to just bullying. You can look that one up. It's true.
And men are attracted to girly girls, and girls are generally attracted to manly men. Yeah, not everybody. Everyone has their kinks, but
it depends what you mean by manly men, because actually women these days are more attracted to men that aren't manly men, however you're going to define that, like the classic traditional emotionally unavailable like that type of like dude, because it's usually associated with negative traits as being less caring, less able to care for themselves and others, less like emotionally available, things like that women don't really care for anymore. Lots of women these days don't like men like that. This guy's probably gonna say that that's the left's doing, try to destroy masculinity. It's almost like what women are looking for in men and what men are looking for in women are changing, and that's fine. But that you don't understand that when you're coming from like a conservative idea on the world.
But usually Western men are under attack. They are being feminized. Take a look at this from Vox, a far left source, so you can't tell me that this is not a good source, because it is. The average sperm count has dropped, but it is still within normal range. So here you can see that in 1973, sperm concentration million/milliliter, 99. In 2011, it was 47. Since the early 1970s, sperm count in Western countries has declined by more than 50%. Men are being feminized. Now, the reasons for this are many.
What does this mean? Sperm count has dropped by 50%. What do you think that means? Where do you think it's coming from? This man literally just pulled up a random stat about how many happy wigglers are swimming around in my balls right now. And then, yeah, I know where, what does that mean? He's like, men are being feminized. How does feminism, how do you think that like they're pumping like the chemtrails, you know, those like trails that go behind like Boeing 747s are just like estrogen, like estrogen powder just falling into the water and everything, falling into the rain, and that's dropping men's sperm count. You know what drops your sperm count? Poor eating. All right, that drops your sperm count. All right, maybe with obesity rising, you think that has anything? When you're obese, your sperm count drops, and with obesity rising drastically since 1973, maybe that has something to do with sperm count dropping. All right, maybe that has something to do with it, with productivity as high as it is now and wage compensation being as low as it almost has ever been compared to our productivity, compared to how much these corporations, which most Americans are working for, is completely dropping, and how wages are barely keeping up with inflation. Maybe all of these things combined has something to do, and stress drops your sperm count as too. I forgot about that. Maybe all of these things combined weighs on men a lot. Remember back in 1973, you could like work at Taco Bell and still like have your wife at home and still take care of like a family of like 3 or 4. You can't do that now. Okay. You can't do that now. You have to have 2 people working. The stress is a lot. People are getting divorced more. Wage, what is it? Money issues are being worse and worse. All right. Maybe this has something to do with sperm count, not like the random like feminization of men that I have no clue what you're talking about. No clue what he's talking about. And also, it's still within normal range. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you're fine. You could just get someone pregnant. People get people pregnant on accident all the time. It just slips and slides right on in there. All right, they're strong. They wiggle their way right on in. They know where to go.
Some of it is due to fitness, stress, but I think a lot of it has to do with pollution and ideology. And you know the crazy thing about it?
You think, wait, this is a guy think, yes, as soon as someone bows to the altar of the left, their sperm count instantly drops to 0. Okay.
This trend is that nobody seems to know why. Take a look at this image. It's testosterone levels in BuzzFeed men. Here you can see Eugene has the highest score at 363. Keith has 259. Zach has 250.
Oh, I remember this. This is really stupid. Okay. For one, let me tell you something a little bit about testosterone, because this gross, disgusting, effeminate man has absolutely no clue about the testosterone that he's wasting right now. Okay, many stronger, many more competent men could be using the testosterone that's sadly flowing through his weak, degenerate veins than he is right now. Okay, so let me explain it to you. All right, let me explain it to you. Testosterone measurements are a very fickle beast. Okay, you can't just test testosterone once. Any doctor who ever has tested testosterone can tell you this. All right, testosterone changes violently throughout the day. It could be super high, it could be incredibly low, depending on what you ate today, depending on the last time you used the bathroom, depending on how much sleep you got last night, how much water you're drinking, all of this, how much stress you have in your life. All right, all of this can affect how much testosterone is flowing through your veins at any given point in time. And it changes drastically even throughout the day. All right. I'm quite sure almost all of these testosterone levels are perfectly within a reasonable range for men their age and men their weight. All right. Weight changes testosterone levels violently throughout the day. Okay. And there is no like there's like saying there's like a healthy way, saying there's like a healthy testosterone range for a man is like saying there's like a healthy like weight for a man too. We have no clue. It depends on a lot of factors, depending on to show like what weight is good for you. It depends on your height and your genetics and how you carry it and all those things. Like that is your weight. That's why we have BMI. Okay, there's no like set weight that a guy should be at. All right, it depends wildly on lots of other characteristics. Same with testosterone. You have to get your testosterone taken 2, 3, or 4 times at different times of the day to get an accurate reading of what your testosterone is. Okay, and none of them have exhibit symptoms of having low testosterone. Okay, so it's almost like all of these guys have perfectly fine testosterone levels for themselves. But these guys, they don't understand that. So let's let him go on and talk about how like the Try guys have low T because they're like left wing or something.
2 and then has 212. What do these numbers mean? Well, let me put it this way. An 85-year-old man has testosterone levels on average of 376. Higher than anyone on this list. In other words, Eugene here, and he's the Asian, has the highest testosterone, but it is still far, far, far.
And he's the Asian. Wait, what's that supposed to mean? Whoa.
Far, 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 far lower. I'm going to assume these guys are in their 30s. The average 35 to 44-year-old male has a testosterone level of 668. Holy shit, they're practically female.
Yeah, average testosterone. You know why they say average testosterone? Because it varies drastically throughout the day even. Okay.
And looking at these men, they look like soy boys. They look very feminine. They look weak.
These guys look feminine? They don't look These guys look feminine to you? What isn't Keith like 6'2" or something? Keith is like 6'5". Keith is like a really tall guy. Like, I mean, and these guys are like feminine. This guy here that we're looking at, I forget his name, but he has like a lot of genetic disorders as well. I mean,
kind of look like women. They're like they're a stone's throw away from going full femboy. Okay,
they look like women. These guys just look like your most average white men that, except for Eugene because he's not white. These guys look like your most average white men that you'd see just walking on the street at any given point in time. Okay.
From going full femboy hooters. Look at these weak men. I believe that this is all a result of the feminization of the Western male, and I find it absolutely disturbing. It's not just a system now. Now they're pumping hormones into unwilling teenagers and destroying their lives. But that, my friends, is merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this story? Sure, let me know.
Okay, buddy. Listen, all right? Listen, okay? This guy has absolutely no clue how biology, testosterone, estrogen, or anything resembling biology works. He did not tell you anything of fact in this video. He told you he was able to he editorialized everything here. It's incredible to me how he wasn't able to list off like a single fact of the world in this whole like 16-minute video. But you know, that's just reactionaries for you. They don't care about fact. They just care about playing with words until they get whatever they want. 'Tis life, boys.